Welcome to Childcare Rockstar Radio. I am your host, Chris Murray. Childcare leaders around the globe are breaking through challenges, leading the way in innovation, testing new best practices, and impacting children and families in a much more powerful and positive way than ever before. Each week, join me for interviews with early childhood leaders and experts that will leave you inspired to become the next Childcare Rockstar. Now, let's go. Hey everybody, it's Chris, and thanks for tuning into Childcare Rockstar Radio, Episode 2. I'm super excited today to have my first guests on my very first podcast, and my guests are two ladies who are super special to me. Summer Picha and Katie Wagoner are co-owners of Peaceful Valley Montessori. They've been partners together in this amazing adventure of an early childhood business for about 8 years. And the reason that I chose Summer and Katie to be the first guests on the Childcare Rockstar podcast is, well, first of all, I just absolutely love them. And they represent to me the type of people I love to work with, and I feel very blessed to work with. And they have actually 10 times their business, going from a small but mighty 30-child Montessori school to now 2 large locations with a total capacity of almost 300 children. So they have 10 times their impact on the world. That is on children and families and teachers in their community. And perhaps most importantly, they've done so from a place of authenticity, love, respect, and kindness, which I'm sure you're going to hear from these ladies as you get to know them on today's radio show. It demonstrates that you can truly rock the world with your vision while still being kind and authentic. Summer and Katie, it's my huge pleasure to welcome you to today's radio show. How are you?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having us. We're so excited to be here.
Hi, Chris. It's Katie. Thanks for having us.
Hello, ladies. So in my intro, it was a little bit unicorns and rainbows, and I'm sure that you were listening thinking that you have days where you might be feeling like you haven't been so kind or you haven't been so generous. And that's part of being a business owner and an early childhood leader. So I'm just so thrilled to feature you guys and to have you here as my guest today. So give us a little bit of a background of your journey. Where did you start versus where you are today?
Great. Well, Chris, Katie and I started the business 8 years ago. We were 2 teachers who were inspired at a conference that we went to, jumped in, literally held our breath and jumped in. We signed a lease and went home and told our families that we signed a lease because we were opening a school. So we had one location, 30 students. And it took us about 2 years to get full and to get our name out there in the community. Once we were full for years, we decided to expand. And now we have one campus in Golden Valley, which has a capacity of 156. And once again, we're full. And another campus in Eden Prairie that we just opened up. And we are about 50% full at that location. So like you said, 10 times their business.
So what did your family say when you came home and you had been teachers and you're like, we got a lease, we're opening a preschool? What was their reaction? I'm just curious.
It's too late to turn around now.
It's too late, family. We're doing this. So tell us a little bit about your why and your vision for your business. I mean, you kind of jumped in as teachers and you've grown, you've 10 times it over 8 years, which is a huge accomplishment. And I want to congratulate you for that. But what keeps you going? What's your why and what's your vision?
Sure. So initially, when we first started out, it was all about the children. It was, we are ready to have the best Montessori school for the children. And we genuinely felt that we had accomplished this. So then we began to look deeper at our program, and then we added in the parent aspect or the family aspect. And so then it was all about having the best Montessori school and the best program for our community. And I genuinely feel, or we genuinely feel, that we've really changed the community that we're in because of our mission. And once again, we grew again. And so now we've added in that staff component of, we hire primarily young women of many, many different backgrounds and many different education levels. And for us, lifelong learning is so very important. I don't ever want anyone to stay stagnant. I want people to work on mastering a skill or moving forward in their career. And so our mission has grown from including or from grown from just talking about children to now including children, families, and young women and helping them continue their career. That's the why.
Yeah. So, but that ties back to my intro, because I was about to write on my little notes about your impact, your 10 times impact on children and families. And then I added teachers to that,
Yeah.
because I think we forget that, yes, we talk about children and families all the time, but we need to also talk about the teachers that we're impacting in our community. So I love that you just said that. Fantastic. In terms of your journey, how do you think differently about what is possible for your business today versus when you started? i.e., I've seen and experienced, I've been with you physically, in person and then on the phone when you've experienced mindset shifts or light bulb moments. Talk a little bit about how your mindset has changed about what's possible.
When we first met you, Chris, when we had our 30-student school, we sat in rooms with other clients of yours, people who had 12 schools of 150 or 8 schools of 100. And we kept thinking, wow, we just have one school of 30. And we sat there and we said, we have to stop saying just. We have one amazing school of 30 students, and we're doing the best for our community. And we knew that by solidifying what we had in our 30-student school, that would help us to be successful when we did expand. We always think outside the box. Transitioning from 30 students with 2 directors, there wasn't a ton of money to be able to expand. And so we had to think outside the box of how we were going to get into our dream. We very much throw things out into the universe. We drove past our location that we're sitting in now for months saying, that would be the best Montessori school. There's our school. There's Peaceful Valley. And we sort of willed it to happen, and we thought outside the box. We surrounded ourselves with smart people who had experience in other industries that we could try to find the pattern of why that industry was successful and try to translate that into the childcare industry or into our Montessori school. And how could we copy what's successful and leave behind things that don't work in other industries or weren't working in our business. So the resources, for sure, were important to get resources that work for us.
In terms of financing, I don't know if we want to go into the whole story about your creative financing model and, how you actually are the ones that brought Bob Carlson to me. But I think it would be a great nugget for the listeners if you could share, because you said outside the box, and that immediately also made me think of, well, so first of all, let's back up a second. I love that you manifested the perfect school for you. So I've talked about that before. I talked about it on my blog in terms of how to do it. And you are proof positive that it works. And one of many examples of.
I've said things like, in the beginning, we didn't have any money, so we were doing trades. And I said, I wish somebody who wants to do our hair would call. And literally the phone would ring. And it was a husband saying, my wife's the lead colorist at the salon downtown. Would you ever do a trade? Like, we manifest things all the time.
Some people listening to this that have never had that happen to them, that just aren't in that flow, might think that we're a little bit crazy knowing that happens, but it's true. So I guess I would say to any listener that's going, no way, you can't manifest things. I would say, try it.
You can. I used to say to her, I would say, Summer, just say it out loud. Just say it out loud, then it'll happen.
We can talk a little bit about our outside of the box thinking and financing.
Yeah, that would be a fantastic, I think, next topic to talk about. Because when you go from 30 to 300, I'm sure there are some folks in that place of 30 or 20 or 30 children, and they're just, when they think about that, they just get completely stopped in their tracks in their thinking. So talk a little bit about the process that you went through to finance your growth, if you would.
Sure. I think something that's a little bit different about Katie and myself is the word hustle. We have it. We have hustle. And so we talk about outside of the box thinking, and we talk about hustle. My husband actually is in sales, and he received an email by accident from one of his clients. And he emailed back and he said, "Hey, I think you sent me this email by accident, but are you an investor? Because my wife has a Montessori school and she found a building and she wants someone to buy it for her." That's the hustle we're talking about. You never stop working. You never close the doors to opportunities. And he emailed back and he said, "I am an investor. And if I can't help her, I have friends who can." Enter Bob Carlson or enter store. So he came and saw our little building, met us, did the scariest thing we've ever done in our lives, had someone look at our financials. That's very uncomfortable. And said, "Ladies, I think we can do this. I think we can do this." And it's just been nose to the grindstone ever since, that hustle piece. But we moved forward with a REIT called Store, and they own our building, and we pay rent to them. And we never would have been able to be sitting right here in our dream without that by chance happening of my husband getting the wrong email.
And that program, just in case folks are listening and want to know more info, is typically a 15-year lease buyback.
Yes.
Right. So they buy the property that you would like to someday own, and it's a real estate investment trust, and then they lease it back to you for 15 years, and at the end of 15 years, you will own it.
There are some programs that you can own, and there are some programs that you would just sign another lease.
Gotcha. Perfect. So that's another perfect example of manifesting an opportunity that came your way and also hustling on the opportunity. So I love that. I love the whole insight that you shared about hustle. Very, very impactful and powerful. And so if you're listening, check in with yourself on that. Are you feeling energized by your business, and are you still portraying to yourself and your staff and actually living and breathing the element of hustle? Are you in the flow? It's not always easy when you're feeling like the world is beating you down, or you're having a issue with a parent on social media or whatever, to have that hustle and stay with that positive mindset. So let's talk about that a little bit, because we started out talking about mindset. Talk about when you are feeling beaten down, and you guys are cool because you have each other as best friends and business partners to lift each other up when either of you might be having an off day. But what other strategies do you go to when you're having a negative mindset day, or just a not feeling the hustle or the energy? What do you do?
We, like I said previously, we have surrounded ourselves with amazing people. I think even the biggest feelings, whether it is a negative parent or something happens with a child, we're in an industry where we're people working with people, and so things are going to happen. Things are going to go wrong. So to reach out to a strong community and a network of people who have been through it and said, "Hey, I've been through it, and guess what? I'm still here, and we're still fine, and here's what I said to that parent, or here's what I said to licensing, or here's what I turned in." Or just saying, "Hey, I'll have a virtual happy hour with you. Let's all have a drink at 7 p.m. and we'll cheers each other virtually."
Right.
Being supported, surrounding yourself, and then being honest with the people around you. When Summer's having an off day, or when I'm having an off day, I tell her. I just say it, and then she knows she can pick it up, or she can send me a resource, or she can say, "I'm thinking about you. We'll get through this." Most of all, when we find ourselves being paralyzed or when we find ourselves being pigeonholed, we take action on something. We just pick something to take action on to get ourselves out of the rut. So maybe you don't feel like talking to that parent, so you go through all the children's files to make sure they're up to licensing standards. Something small just to do your work.
Yep. That ties in with, what I've said before about action and action being the antidote to fear. And I find that to be very true. It's just baby steps of action when you're feeling paralyzed can help get you out of it. So I love that. Love, love, love it. When you say that you're surrounded by great people, you're talking about your staff, right? Or who are you talking about specifically? Are you talking about mentors and mastermind buddies, or who are you talking about?
All of our employees are handpicked by us. They're people that we chose to do the job because they're smart and they're amazing at their work. We have a phenomenal admin team that, when everything is muscle memory at this point, we have to take a step back and talk about everything we do out loud. And the admin team has been there every step of the way to support us and to help us. And then also our mastermind buddies, just the best of the best across the nation. Mm-hmm. When there's a problem, we can reach out and have 20 people step in. That's absolutely amazing. I don't think we could have gone this far without a mastermind people.
Yep. And Katie and Summer are platinum members of my Childcare Success Academy with almost 100 members. So masterminds, whether they're part of the academy or separate groups that you form locally, are extremely powerful.
I think, too, jumping in there, Chris, we've also surrounded ourselves with people who can help us with the skills we're not necessarily good at. Like I said, having that person look at our financials was the scariest thing in the world. So we have a mentor, an acquaintance, a friend at this point who sits with us monthly and goes through our financials with us. And then we go to happy hour because we've developed this really great friendship. So we have looked locally at finding a group of people who can help us be successful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's a team. So you have your local experts that are helping you and being mentors in specific pieces that you're not strong, and just pulling together your support team. So I love that.
Yeah, we talk a lot about how we are really fortunate to have each other with this rapid growth and finding new resources and reading all these books that have helped us get where we are. It's pretty lonely. You grow so much and you learn so much and you're going at such a fast pace that oftentimes you lose some friends in the process because you can only do pretty much 80% in all aspects of your life. So you're 80% there for your kids, and then something happens at work. And you're 80% here at work, and then something happens with your kids. And you're hanging out with your friends until something happens at work or at home. And so surrounding yourself with people at the same level as you, who have the same goals as you, sometimes means that you leave other people behind, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But it can be kind of lonely. And so to make sure that you have people who are functioning at the same level, who you enjoy being around, who you learn from, and who stimulate you, it's a hard thing to grapple with, to think of leaving people behind. But you have to surround yourself with really great people.
So let's talk a little bit about your hiring and your school culture. We're off script a little bit, but I think that it's important because you talked about your admin team and your teachers being so supportive and great and part of your journey and just, such an important and impactful part of what you do. And of course, that's the case with all high quality schools. It's about the teachers. It's about the staff. It's about them feeling empowered. It's about giving them the tools they need and giving them the support and the empathy that they need. because it's a very difficult job for low pay. So what do you do that you might see as different, special, unique, or just a tried and true practice with either hiring or ongoing motivating and leadership with your staff so that you can cultivate them into a team of awesome people? What are some kind of key pieces around your leadership philosophy?
Great. I think one of the biggest things in your program early on, Chris, was this phrase, raising the level of professionalism in our industry. And that has sort of been a goal of ours since we heard it from the very first touch point of people coming to us. So our Indeed ads or our Facebook posts trying to attract the talent. We talk about working in a professional setting. And a way that we do that is we have set schedules. So we really try not to piece things together and say, oh, we're short here, or oh, I'm going to cut your hours. We never cut people's hours. If you're scheduled 8:30 to 5:30, you're going to work 8:30 to 5:30. If you're scheduled 7 to 4, you're going to work 7 to 4. And I just feel like that simple step alone raises the level of professionalism in our industry. Our teachers also have a lot of autonomy in the classroom, meaning we don't micromanage what they do in the classroom. They get a monthly budget or an annual budget. They're in charge of buying the materials that they need for their classroom to be successful. I monitor the budget, but I don't micromanage, the color of construction paper, how many pipe cleaners they're going to buy. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in giving my teachers tools for success. So I think that autonomy is, once again, just raising the level of professionalism in our industry. We talk about respect. This is a place of respect. And yes, conflicts are going to occur. We're 60 women working together. Of course, conflicts are going to occur. We can do it in a respectful manner. We can provide a person to facilitate a conversation. We can agree to disagree, all of those things. And from onboarding, that is where we talk about that. We've really worked on an in-depth training process that talks about the culture here at Peaceful Valley, very clear-cut what our expectations are. And it's just been something that we've really worked on over the last year, trying to continue to grow and continue to be the best at what we do.
I love that. I love the focus on respect and empowerment, and that you set the tone at the very beginning and you hire for that and you talk about that all the way through your company. And then in conflict management, because yes, I had to giggle when you're talking about 60 women, of course. And I will just say times of the month and everything else that happens when you're a bunch of women working together.
We do have ice cream and chip parties a few times a month.
So I love that you give them their supply budget and just let them own it, and that you do not send them home all the time. I completely agree with you. I think there's people that are probably listening going, well, they must be leaving thousands of dollars on the table in their labor budget because they're not sending people home. But you guys have extremely low turnover. You have a great culture. You have, tremendous, just an amazing place to work that you have built. You are serving teachers by giving them a great place to work and meeting your vision. So it might be, you might be leaving a little bit of money on the table in your labor budget, but that's okay. I mean, what do you say to that?
We talk about the cost of onboarding somebody, and our onboarding process actually lasts quite a few days. So we, when we onboard them and we give them the outlines and expectations and what they can expect from us, and then we live up to that, we don't have to onboard someone and train them for an extra 2 to 5 days out of the classroom. It costs about $200 per person to onboard somebody. And if we can keep our staff and keep them happy, we're not just watching that money fly out the door. Not that it never happens. Some people actually don't want to have the expectations of our culture. It's a lot of pressure. Some people want to show up, be a body, and make a paycheck, and they're not going to be successful here at Peaceful Valley. But most people just want to know the expectation, and then they know what they can live up to.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about your yummy school. And I added this question in also, so you don't have it in front of you, but I'm sure you'll be able to gush about it. I'd like to know what makes your school unique and special.
I would say the Montessori approach, of course, is unique in itself. And Summer and I are both trained in Montessori and passionate about it. And I think the unique part is that Summer and I have both worked all of the positions at a Montessori school. So whether we're meeting with an aide who has a GED and we're setting goals for them and we're walking them through getting a CDA, or we have resources for them to handle some of their issues outside of work. Or if we're meeting with one of our lead teachers who has a master's degree in early childhood education or in Montessori, we're always setting goals. We're always pushing them to be better. And they also know that they can push us to be better. So if we're not supporting them, it's sort of a mutual agreement that we're all going to be growing. And so they have to push us to be better too. The parents are really a huge part of our mission. We partner with the parents, and we really strive to provide a non-judgmental place to parent and hopefully non-judgmental on their end, a place to educate their children. And it really does feel like a partnership where parents can come to us and say, well, they stayed up till 10:30 with grandma last night, and then they asked for a snack, and she gave it to them, and now they're very sad this morning. Say, not a problem. We're all there. We're parents of young children ourselves. And so to not judge, but to know you can provide that information to care for the child best. So we know what we're walking into as well. That's a really unique part, especially in Montessori, to partner with the parents instead of being so rigid around our guidelines and our rules and how to be at our school.
Everything that Katie talked about, we have core values, founding principles, and every decision that's made within the company is made with those founding principles and core values in mind. And I know that probably sounds super duper cheesy, but our founding principles are leadership, citizenship, partnership. And you can hear when Katie talked about what made the school so special, she mentioned 2 out of the 3 founding principles off the top of her head. And we also have core values, and this is what we tell our staff and we tell our parents. Our core values are kindness, excellence, intention, communication, and fun. And we can't teach somebody to do those things. You just have to be it. You just have to be it. I can teach you our founding principles, and I can tell you what that means to us here at Peaceful Valley, but the core values, it just has to be in you. And so I think by really staying true to our core values, we're able to surround ourselves with really amazing people, and it attracts the clients that we're looking for. I think one of the biggest core values is intention. And we're very, very intentional about things we add into our program. We're very, very intentional when we make decisions for our program.
I love that. So what challenges do you guys feel you still face? And how do you deal with those? Because I know, again, it's not all sunshine and rainbows like we talked about at the beginning. So, yeah, and feel free to be as honest and real as you can, because I know that the people listening to this show will get a lot out of it. I mean, you guys are just so awesome. So what do you still struggle with?
Still getting what's in our brain out onto paper. so that other people can do it, but it's still done at the same level that we would expect it to be done if it were us doing it. A huge one for me recently is liability. We're in charge of people's most precious possessions. And so with a staff and a school, the sizes that we have grown to, we can't micromanage people. We can't be there for every interaction. So mine is the trust and the liability for the children that are here.
So for me, mine is muscle memory, or that training people in. I do so much for muscle memory that to slow down enough and to manage my expectations, to know that something that takes me 15 minutes is probably going to take another person half an hour or even 45 minutes. And that's okay. But I'm such a perfectionist sometimes that I then just jump in and take over. And I'm really working on that. Another big struggle and challenge for me is I'm not necessarily super great at personal relationships. So if a staff member catches me by surprise, a lot of times my facial expressions don't actually match what my words are saying, don't match what my body language is saying. And so as we've grown, I've really, really had to work on that. And that just takes everything out of me. I go home at night and I'm so exhausted just from having those person-to-person interactions. And it's a big piece of my goals. It's a big piece of what I'm working on. And I've shared that with every staff member who's come in. And I've said, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm working on. And I think that transparency helps people understand that Katie and I are just two people ourselves too. We're two people with an idea. And now we're sitting in this idea and 60 people have jobs and 300 children have a place to go. And it's kind of a lot of pressure sometimes. There are occasions where we may find ourselves down the street at Schuler's, the local dive bar.
So talk a little bit about, my final question for you guys is related to resources and books. So share with the listeners a few resources or books that you absolutely love, and they can be ECE related or business related or anything really.
It's hilarious that you say that. We were talking about this question as we were preparing, and we did 2 columns. We did one column with business books and mindset shift books, and then we did one column of early childhood education books. And so 3 of our business books that we just love, the book that got the whole ball rolling, that inspired everything for both of us, is 6 Months to 6 Figures. And it's by a guy named Peter, and I have no idea how to say his last name. It's Voogd. Another amazing book that we love and we take a lot of inspiration from is 10X by Grant Cardone. And that one is more for mindset. So if you're finding yourself needing to build a thicker skin, or when you're worried, when you're lonely, when you're outgrowing your friends and you don't know what to do, that's a great book to read. And then, of course, anything by Dale Carnegie, just because he's amazing. Our early childhood book, this might be very specific to our program, but we love the book called Children, the Challenge by Rudolph Dreikers. Our whole program is largely based on his book. And The Explosive Child by Ross W. Green, and Positive Discipline by Jane Nelson. I'm going to let Katie tell you about the last resource that we absolutely are in love with.
What got you here won't get you there. And it has given us really tangible habits or tangible characteristics to look at in ourselves, but then also understanding how the characteristics that we have can affect other personalities, and what we might innocently be doing When we went from being an employee to being an employer, there are just habits you need to change, or they become less appealing, and not necessarily the right thing to do to be a manager. It's cost us both a lot of work and introspect, but it's amazing to see on paper things that you can make a change and keep in your mind and say to yourself, oh, this is exactly what was in that book is happening right now. Here's what I should do. That's been really helpful.
Well, and that's awesome to hear, because that book was given to you guys as part of our last Platinum meeting that we had in Denver. And Ben Poswalk brought that book to my attention.
Yeah.
It's by Marshall Goldsmith. It's called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And if for successful people to take your success to the next level. And so it's kind of like you've already gotten success. And I think that if you're a successful business person, you get into a certain level of habits because you think, well, that's what got me here. But it's not what's going to get you there. So I just love that you guys had some big insights with that book, and that we could be part of sharing that with you and helping you shift your habits to get you to the next level of success. So what's going to happen when you 10 times again and you go from 300 to 3,000?
Woo! Bring it on. Can't wait.
Bring it on. Very good. Well, I just want to thank you for being my very first podcast guests on Childcare Rockstar Radio. You truly are rock stars to me and to the world and to your local community. We love you. And thank you, ladies, so much for inspiring our listeners and being on this episode with me today.
Great. Thanks, Chris.
We love you too.
All right, everybody. This has been Chris Murray with Childcare Rockstar Radio, and we were just speaking with Summer and Katie from Peaceful Valley Montessori. Thanks again to our guests, and thank you to you for taking the time to listen in to our show today. Take care, and God bless. I hope you liked this episode of Childcare Rockstar Radio. If you did, please share it with someone you know and help spread the word to your friends in our industry and on social media. Childcare business success is my passion, and I'm honored to be on this journey with you. As a thank you for listening, I'd like to give you a copy of my top-rated book, The 77 Best Strategies to Grow Your Early Childhood Program. To get your free copy now, go to childcare-marketing.com. Take care, and God bless.